Well, here we are again. Took a long route to get here, but the Yakuza series is finally getting back to answering what the purgatory happened at the end of Yakuza 5. We had a flashback to the 80s and a remake of the first game getting in the way of getting a true continuation of 5, but here we are. This is also a big leap for the series in general, as this is the first Yakuza game built for the PS4. Yes, while Zero and Kiwami were PS4 exclusives in North America, both were also released for the PS3 in Japan. This is the first true PS4 entry, changing up the series in a way that hasn't been seen since the leap from the PS2 to the PS3 with Yakuza 3 nearly 10 years ago. That change is evident in every corner of Yakuza 6. That's for better and for worse. The story did not unfold as I predicted in my Yakuza 5 review. For what I believe is the first time ever, the game actually begins where the last one left off, and both stories share a bit of a connection. It begins at the end of Yakuza 5 with Kazuma-kun going to the hospital, and he is promptly arrested. He could have easily gotten out of it with a good lawyer, but Kazuma wants to stay away from the orphanage because of how it would negatively affect the children's lives there, now that Haruka has blatantly told the world it is run by an ex-Yakuza. Oops. The tabloids get to Haruka, still trying to connect her, the Yakuza, and the orphanage, so she makes the level-headed decision to run away in Kazuma's absence, leaving the children to fend for themselves. Wonderful. A few years pass, Kazuma gets out of jail, and he finds Haruka still missing. He sets out to find her, but it doesn't take long for her to appear in a good old Kamurocho hospital. Down one conscious body, and up one infant. She was hit by a car protecting 1-year-old Haruto, which is apparently her son. Kazuma takes the baby with him as he searches for answers on where she went, why she has a child, and who the father might be. This gets him tangled up in all sorts of crazy action between the Toja clan, Chinese and Korean mafias, and Hiroshima's own Yomi alliance. It's tough talks, flying fists, and a side of babysitting. While I won't spoil the story, Sega has been billing this as the final game with Kazuma as the protagonist, and I think they treat his departure from the series pretty well. There's a lot of clever metaphors for parenthood that reflect on Kiryu's own journey of being a father figure, and it's really touching for series fans. What I think is disrespected is just about everybody else from the mainstay Yakuza cast. Virtually nobody from the previous games show up in this plot. Majima, Saejima, and Daigo only show up at the bookends of the game. Akiyama appears occasionally, but he might as well not have been there at all, as he doesn't have any significant bearing on the plot. Haruka is out cold for the majority of the game, so she serves as a stationary plot device instead of growing and maturing. Date gets probably the most coverage, as he's always an active member of the plot, but like with Haruka, he feels more like a means to an end than anything. Any and all character development is reserved for a cast of characters we were just introduced to. It's fantastic in its own right, with a lot of heart for these new characters, but is this really how you want to spend your last game with Kazuma? It's like if the last season of Mad Men had Don Draper working with a group of 20-somethings to make a grand Pepsi commercial with Peggy showing up every 3 episodes. Again, it's a wonderful story that meets up to Yakuza standards, even better than something like Yakuza 3, but it's more disappointing as a finale. But the Yakuza games are all about the immersive cities and the frantic combat, and Yakuza 6 puts one foot forward and another foot behind it, standing with its legs in more of a V-shaped position than slipping and doing the splits. The game still manages to stand fine despite its innovations and redactions. The cities are more open than ever. Invisible corners have been cut off and a lot of the slimmer alleys can be squeezed through. Building interiors no longer transition between loading screens, and it's all one seamless world to traverse. However, some parts of the city have been walled off by barriers, with no story explanation as to why they're inaccessible, other than some construction worker telling you that they are working there. Yeah, no, I've played a fictitious ex-Yakuza long enough to know what that means. When a suspicious man tells me not to go that way because of construction, I know something shady's going on. I wish I could slam his head into a car door, but they took that out of the battle system. Now, the battles take no time to start and no longer restrict you to an arena of people. That also means you can run away from the fights too, which makes the combat the most player-friendly it has ever been. But there's a lot of heat moves that aren't as satisfying or creative as in previous games. That's not to say all of them are devoid of life. In fact, my new favorite thing in the world is to lure a fight into a convenience store and perform a heat action where I throw my victim head first into a microwave where I have the cashier turn it on. That satisfies my thirst for blood in a way that Yakuza Dead Souls never could. That push and pull of quality defines Yakuza 6 for me. Look at how much better karaoke is, but why did they dump the UFO catcher? You can play Virtua Fighter 5, Final Showdown, and Puyo Puyo, but where's the florist in Purgatory during all this? It's evidence of a game that's been rushed out, but I'd rather have it rushed like this than rushed like Assassin's Creed Unity or Sonic 06, which is to say, bugged out the nose. It feels more like a test for a new fancy engine rather than an expansion of what Yakuza 5 and 0 did. The blow is softened a little with the new city of the game, Onomichi in Hiroshima, as it has no expectations to live up to, and I do admit they take the lack of development time and turn it into an advantage here. They play up the lack of things to do and buy as just being out in the sticks, which I appreciate as an atmosphere shift. The difference between something like Tokyo and Osaka in Yakuza 2 and 0 was more of the city layout, quests to do, and maybe a few different attractions depending on the city. In Hiroshima, most of the entertainment is hidden behind side stories, and when they do add up, it's a far cry for what can be found in Kamurocho. In addition, stores close at night, and there's no convenience stores to get your freshly microwaved skulls from. As such, it's a stark contrast that gives Onomichi a personality all its own, making the game feel bigger as a result. I like Kamurocho more just for the obvious reason it has more stuff to do, but I like the inclusion of Onomichi for just being a fun place to explore. It's hard to say I hold Yakuza 6's shortcomings against it, especially considering how much time I've spent attempting to pull myself away from it. It's empty only in comparison to other games in the series, but by itself, it's probably one of the deepest open world games to date. It not only nails what makes Yakuza awesome, but it makes it better. Yes, I would have liked bowling, pool, and some kind of arena, but I'm not there for all those things. I am there for the city, its people, and hitting people across the face with bicycles. It's not too heavy on series lore, so you can get into it alright if you haven't played the series up until now. There's a handy recap of every game in the series beforehand, though of course I recommend you play them over reading them. If you're in it for the story, start with Yakuza 0 or 1. By all means, don't play this one yet. But if you're in it to see the amazing world to explore, then you wouldn't be too lost if you started playing with this one. Until Yakuza 7 comes out and fills the gaps, Yakuza 6 is the most impressive Yakuza game to date. It hasn't beaten 5 in terms of scale, but it's beaten most games out there in terms of depth, and I think that's worth celebrating, even if that celebration is without UFO catchers.